From Beer of the Day World Headquarters in Elk Grove, California, it's the Beer of the Day podcast. It's August 4th, and as summer draws on, we decided to devote a show entirely to summer ales. And we have 5 different ones to try from all around the country. I'm Dallas Helliker. Joining me tonight, Andy Hamilton and Steve Williamson. And from Pasadena, California, on Skype, Jeff Miller. Hey, everybody.
Good evening.
Hello.
Ready
Happy
to try
summer.
some summer beers?
No, not really.
Well,
It's fitting for the season.
It's fitting for the season. It's just the type of beer that I choose to pass on 95% of the time.
yeah, but I mean, there's a time and place for it. Obviously, the sun is starting to go down now, and so it becomes less of the perfect opportunity to drink beers like this. I think on our Stone show that we did 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
it would have been better to have these types of beers when it was outside. It's 90 degrees, but all the same, it's definitely worth giving them a try. Later on in the program, we have a list of all the summer beers. This summer beer review website came up with a list of 95 different ones, and so there's a sizable number of summer ales, I guess you could call them, and so we're going to try 5 different ones on the show today, and then we'll also look at the ones that they rated as the very best summer seasonal beers.
Jeff just popped right in, huh?
Can't wait for you guys. It's hot here.
First beer we're going to try is kind of the classic summer ale, Samuel Adams Summer Ale, 5.3%, Boston Beer Company, Boston, Massachusetts. This beer is pretty widely available. I see it at every grocery store. It's on tap at a lot of bars, as you'd expect from Sam Adams. But you always get their Boston Lager everywhere. But they're pretty good about getting summer ale circulated.
Now, I mean, I know it's not winter, but their winter ale winter ale or in winter lager. I think it's winter lager.
Winter lager.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of. So this might be better than that, even though I tend to like the winter beers more.
I like the Oktoberfest for an Oktoberfest. They do a good job.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, I do. I like Oktoberfest.
I mean, I used to like it a lot. It has gotten somewhat sweeter over time, I think. I think the winter lager has too. I think I used to like it a lot better than I like it now.
I think it's sweeter to your palate, probably. The beer probably hasn't changed as much. It's just like when we start drinking these bigger IPAs. Now going back to a regular IPA just doesn't have the bite.
True, but I think there's other winter ales that I still appreciate.
Yeah.
And that one, especially last year, I just wasn't a fan of it.
Well, this is the summer beer show, so let's get that.
So yeah, we can save the winter beers for winter.
So I poured mine first, and it's lighter colored than I expected. I mean, I think a lot of these beers are going to be pretty light colored, but it's hazy. It's got a fair amount of bubbles. The head's pretty solid. I was kind of impressed here. I haven't had a sip yet.
Andy put me about 3 inches ahead I had to get through.
But it's got this kind of light, hazy, yellowish color.
It has kind of a wheat beer smell to it,
Yeah, it does.
with like almost Belgian characteristics. Not a whole lot of it, but
Grainy.
yeah, grainy. Very light in color. Kind of, I'd say straw color, but it's really more watered down than that.
So it's not very citrusy. I was expecting a lot of citrus, and it's refreshing, it's crisp, but it's more, to me, it has like a aftertaste of like tomato juice, and it's a little spicy, spicier than I thought, more so than citrusy.
Do we need to call you a doctor?
No, I know what you're saying. Kind of a peppery finish to it.
I do get some fruit there. I do get like some orange flavors.
I get a little lemon.
Maybe orange peel.
No, I get very little fruit. Almost like a American just lager, kind of a regular domestic beer taste to it, but lighter.
I think it's sweeter than your standard American lager. It's sweeter than a Miller Lite, I'd say.
Yeah, it's got kind of the finish of like a rice beer. It kind of, to me, rice beers taste a little sweeter, and this definitely has a sweeter finish.
The lemon I get is if you could take this like the citric acid out of lemon and just had the juice left over, like that flavor. If you could take the acidity out of it, that's what I get.
Yeah, but it's not that sour. It's
No,
just
but that's the flavor. It's that mixed in with beer.
yeah, I do get a little of that.
So this says on the bottle here, it says it's a wheat ale brewed with lemon peel and grains of paradise. I taste the grains of paradise here.
Coming through pretty strong for you.
Yeah.
It must be what I taste too. I just don't really know what that tastes like.
No, I don't know what it is either. That could be, it's a wheat beer, so that made sense on the aroma. It's somewhat enjoyable beer. I could drink this all day long. It's not it wouldn't get to me. It's not overly sweet to me.
To me, it doesn't have a lot of taste at all. It just kind of tastes bland, but I don't want to say it's a negative. It just doesn't have a lot of taste to it. Very crisp, very drinkable.
The taste of summer.
I will say at 5.3%, it's a little higher than I expected alcohol-wise than most summer beers, and you definitely can't taste it. I mean, it's very light. It tastes less than 5.3% to me.
It does taste lighter. It tastes like, 5.3% is Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Is that 6% or
5.5.
5.5? So it's like right in that ballpark, but it's much lighter character beer. I'd say if you just pulled people off the street and said, "Hey, drink this," I'd say most people would say, "Yeah, that's drinkable. I'll drink that." All right, let's get into the beer news of the day. While I pull up the Beer of the Day website news section, one of the strangest stories that actually was pretty highly rated on the every day or every couple of days I look at beer news and find articles to put on the website that are interesting. And one that came up a lot was this Maine brewer called Oxbow Brewing is brewing a beer that is made with live lobsters and a dash of sea salt. Now, we're always looking for strange brews for this show. Every week, we scour the stores trying to find the strangest beer because we've had a lot of them and, we've used up a lot of them. But I'll tell you, a beer that's made with real live lobsters is, that's got to be one of the strangest.
That sounds interesting to me. I like lobster and I like beer. So why not?
Sounds good to me.
How about somebody sends us that? That'd be great.
Hey, Oxbow Brewing.
Brewmaster Tim Adams. We want to try your beer.
You related to Sam?
His little brother Tim.
Third cousin
up there in Maine.
Little Timmy, he's making this beer with lobster.
And he had to outdo his older brother.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, that doesn't even work because the guy's last name is Cook. So,
What kind of beer is this? Do we know? It's just made with lobster?
Maybe
it
they're related.
is a Saison style beer brewed in collaboration with a brewery in Parma, Italy. 4.5% alcohol, limited basis. Adams says the lobsters that were cooked in the brewing process were later eaten. So
That's what I would look
They
forward
didn't go
to.
to waste.
they didn't go to waste.
I would want to eat the lobster that was in the beer vat.
We can make this ourselves. We don't even need Tim Adams. Timmy.
Prove us wrong, Timmy. Send us some beer.
Yeah.
So maybe someday we'll have a lobster beer as our strange brew segment. Next story, big news in the beer world, especially in California. Firestone Walker Brewing Company
Pour one out.
has been acquired by Duvel, the huge beer conglomerate in Europe, and they've bought up several different craft breweries. And but Firestone has always had a special place in my heart. It was that first craft beer that really
Brought you in.
really reeled me in, and that set the hook, and it was set for good. And they say that it's not an acquisition, it's a merger.
A merger.
But it's an acquisition.
Yeah.
And they say that they're not going to interfere with the process. It's just an investment thing. And
That'd be great if that's true. But
if that's the case, then they'll have a lot more capital that they can use to do what they do best. But you never know when that corporate overlord comes in and starts cutting the costs of ingredients, trying to turn a profit, and you don't know when the quality, when that shoe is going to drop.
Yep.
And maybe it never drops. You don't know.
Well, as long as the industry, the craft brew industry is growing at such a tremendous rate, everything's going to be fine and dandy until it hits its peak and starts to go down. And then the corporate guys come in and say, well, where can we cut costs? Because they just want to make more money.
Start trying to tweak things.
Right. So I think for the next coming, 5-10 years maybe, it's going to be great. But at some point, you're going to see the corporate foot come down.
I think time will tell. Firestone Walker, it's already one of the bigger craft breweries in the U.S. Definitely in California, it's one of the bigger ones. So I think it'll be moving up the list in terms of production after this
but they're
merger.
Not a craft brewer anymore.
I think so too. I noticed a billboard on my way to work the other day on Highway 99 in Sacramento for Firestone Walker 805.
Yeah.
So right away, I think
I'm seeing 805 everywhere now.
Showing the difference there.
Can't you carry some DBA?
Yeah, 805 has exploded. And they used to say, oh yeah, it's Southern California only. Now that's like their main beer. I've been to bars where they have 805 and that's it as far as Firestone beer goes. So anyway, we'll have to keep an eye out and see what happens. Obviously, their beer is very good as it is, and I don't like to mess with a good thing.
Yep.
So we'll see. All right, that brings us to our next beer. Speaking of breweries that were bought by huge corporate overlords, Goose Summer Ale from Goose Island Brewery. Goose Island was purchased by Anheuser-Busch InBev.
Now, before we get too far into this, we have two different beers here. We got the wrong beer today.
What is it?
The Goose IPA.
Oh.
So.
Sorry, Jeff.
As much as I love summer beers.
I have it.
Yeah, you have it. So you're going to carry the show.
So I can talk all about this.
I went to 3 different stores to find this beer, and then I went to a different Bevmo today in Lodi, and
you found it.
And I walked right in, and there it was, and I grabbed it off the shelf, and then I looked for the other beer that I couldn't find, and so then I bought it, and I thought, yeah, $9 for a 6-pack, I got the beer for the show.
Oh, that's good. That's funny. All right, well, I guess I can talk about the beer. So I just poured it. It is very clear, like crystal clear. Now, fairly bubbly. I took a sip already. I like this beer. I've never been a huge fan of Goose Island, but all their beers have been okay to me. This is hoppier than most summer ales, and I know you guys can't.
So is this one.
Back me up. But it's pretty hoppy. Tastes a little bit more like a pale ale. Like if somebody handed me this glass, I would not know it was a summer ale. It's piney. It's citrusy. A little grassy. I think you guys would like this one because it's what I would think it's somewhere between a summer ale and a pale ale. Maybe even on the border of an IPA.
I think Jeff got the IPA also.
That's only 5%, Jeff. So, but it sounds like they packed a lot of flavor into it.
So I was looking here. There's 33 IBUs, which I think is probably fairly high for a summer ale. I'm guessing most of these other ones are in the 10 to 20 range.
Probably right.
So I like this. It's pretty well carbonated. Tastes like a pale ale to me. So maybe our beers are not that different.
Well, so just we have it here and we're drinking it. This is a very clear colored beer.
Yeah, definitely.
Not a whole lot of carbonation in the beer itself, but
don't think so?
the head is very thick.
When I kind of twirl my glass, you get a lot of bubbles going
Yeah,
on.
but when you taste it, does it taste carbonated?
No. not really.
It was funny. I took the first sip. I was like, I'm so happy to have an IPA right now. I took the first sip after that summer ale, and it just so bitter. It's such a different, it hits your taste buds.
Definitely, and I don't even think that this is that hoppy of an IPA.
No, it's only 55 IBUs, but compared to that first beer,
Sure.
and that might be what Jeff's getting is that is a more bitter summer ale, but it's not bitter by any means.
I was
Could
thinking
be.
that this didn't have a lot of those traditional IPA kind of like the floral notes, and I said peppery in the last beer, but this one really is peppery. Like it has a kind of a pepper taste to it.
Yeah, I mean
Like
this
black pepper.
This is a pretty classic IPA, I think. I mean, you can when you taste it, it's got some hoppiness. It's got kind of a darker malt character, and it's not bad.
That's not bad.
I think Goose Island, I mean, the summer ale is, it's obviously a Chicago brewery, but it's pretty readily available throughout the U.S. So
Yeah, there's the benefit of being owned by the conglomerates is that your product can get anywhere in the world.
yeah, but I like this. I mean, if you're looking for a summer beer and you like pale ales or IPAs, I think this is a pretty good option.
Sounds good. All right, I printed out a map. See if I can find it here.
I got one for you.
Okay, this is out this week. They came out with a infographic of breweries. God. Each state, they took the beer that is most readily available. It appears on more menus than any other beer in that state. Now, what happens is that they have a menu listing, right? Restaurants and bars
Right.
can list what they serve with this service. So like mountain hillbilly bars and small bars and things that might only serve Bud Light, Coors Light, stuff like that, they probably don't list it. So it's kind of a different. It's not every single bar in the state that actually counts, but it's a pretty good sampling. And you look at some of these states are very interesting. Is what is the most widely available beer in that state? California, most widely available beer. I should have just printed out one copy and had you guys guess.
I don't think we ever would have guessed this one.
Stella Artois.
Ugh.
Wow.
I mean, it is available everywhere.
Yep.
It is the
It is.
highest selling beer in the country of Belgium. Right?
It is.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yep. I think we read that.
We did that on another show.
Yeah. Also in Oklahoma. Is that Oklahoma?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And New York.
And New York, Stella Artois.
Stella's taken over.
But then there's some states like Montana. Big Sky IPA is the best-selling,
I like
most
that.
widely available beer in Montana.
I like seeing that.
I
do
expect that
too.
though.
Yeah.
Like there's some big surprises here. I like seeing Big Sky IPA as the beer for Montana.
And Sierra Nevada Pale Ale in New Mexico.
And I like the Mac and Jack's African Amber in Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah. I read today that if you think of states that have the most craft breweries, right? The top 4, California, Oregon, Colorado, and Washington.
Are all
Those are the ones that have the most craft breweries. Bud Light, Nevada, Bud Light, Utah, Bud Light, Arizona, Bud Light, Texas.
And I think what really stands out to me too is like Coors Light for Oregon. That's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah. They have so much good beer up there. Why are you drinking Coors Light?
it seemed like everywhere we went, maybe there's just too many craft
It could be,
breweries.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
So it's spread out too thin
that's something
where
to do with it.
everywhere you go there's still Coors Light.
a lot of those craft breweries probably get like special deals with bars and restaurants that say you only serve our beer. Specialized locations.
Yeah. I mean, I can see the Coors Light in the South, but these states that means that there's bars that have Coors Light, but they don't have Bud Light, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it
Right.
would have been interesting to see this map 5 years ago, and you would have seen. I bet you would have seen every single one of these would have been
Bud, Coors,
a macro brewer.
Right.
In Colorado, Coors Light.
I saw
When
that
is-
Hawaii was coming through with Kona. So that's good to see. They were following the
And
Montana.
then South Dakota, New Belgium Fat Tire.
I think what's interesting to me too is something like Abita, which is from Louisiana, is number one in Mississippi, but
Yeah.
not Louisiana.
Right.
You know, kind of like New Belgium and South Dakota, but not Colorado.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Shinerbach in North Dakota. I think that's from Texas, right?
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
It is.
Big in Texas.
But like in Louisiana, you have a lot of tourism, so there's a lot more just tourist bars where they're going to carry the big stuff. And then you go to Mississippi, there's a lot less tourism, so it's more local, more people showing their local pride.
And then look at Georgia, Sweetwater 420 EPA.
Is that gasoline?
That's a moonshine beer.
Well,
Yeah.
also look at South Carolina. That's surprising to me. Yingling. I expect Yingling up in Pennsylvania. I mean, Yingling is actually, I don't think of it as a craft brewery, but it's by that, Brewers Guild, it is considered like a craft brewery still. It's the biggest craft brewer in the U.S., if you count that. And to see that in South Carolina is a little surprising to me.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. Check it out. We're going to put a link to it up in the news section of the Beer of the Day website. All right. We're going to take our quick break. When we come back, we have our Strange Brew segment, a Strange Brew summer beer, and 2 more popular summer ales. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Beer of the Day podcast. All right, so this podcast can be found on the Beer of the Day website. The Beer of the Day website is a site that we have created that lists a good portion of every beer in the world. There's not every beer up there, but if you have a beer that you found that you wanted to put on the site, you can go ahead and click add a beer and write a description of it, upload a photo. And I mean, I do it all the time. Jeff does it. Andy does it. And, it's kind of an addicting thing, actually, because you put it up there and then everyone else can comment on it, rate the beer, and it's a lot of fun. So check it out. beeroftheday.com is the website. Also, if you want to check out some local breweries in your area, you can go to the community section and click on local breweries, and it's going to show you all the micro brews, craft beer makers in your geographic location. And it's, if you have nothing to do one day, Saturday, it's a lot of fun just to go down to your local brewery, try their beers, maybe buy a growler, and kind of support the local beer community. And if you are there and you are drinking a beer and you want to put a photo of it on the website, you can text it to us, and it'll ask you what beer it is. You tell it, and it'll put your photo right up on the website. So that's the text messaging features of the Beer of the Day website. So when you sign up, put your cell phone number on file too, and that way you can interact with the site through text messaging. All right, let's get back to the Beer of the Day podcast. Eric Clapton on Beer of the Day radio.
There that is.
Yeah, it's cream, actually. So, Strange Brew segment. We had to find a beer to fit the category, and a strange one that we found was called Mana Wheat. That's from Maui Brewing Company in Maui, Hawaii, Kihei. And this is a pineapple beer, is it not?
It's made with pineapple juice.
So I haven't had too many pineapple beers, and so that's what qualifies this as a strange brew segment. But it's a light beer, and it kind of fits that summer theme.
Smells like pineapple juice.
Smells like a manna.
It smells pretty fruity and weedy. It's got a big bubbly head.
I think it's a hint of pineapple in the smell. I don't think it's overly pineapple.
I think what stands out to me, not having had this yet, I mean, it first and foremost is a wheat beer. And most wheat beers are a little hazy or cloudy. This is pretty clear for this style of beer.
It's clearer than I expected. It's not completely clear. It's not as clear as that Goose IPA we had, but pretty clear.
To me, it doesn't really have any smell. I don't even smell the pineapple.
Actually, when I went back in for another big whiff, I got a lot of floral smell, kind of like a lei.
Lay.
Wow. So, when you hear a pineapple beer, you think that they're going to go overboard with the pineapple flavor.
Yeah.
No.
They haven't. It's there. It is very reserved, though. It's kind of a crisp summer beer with a little bit of pineapple flavor thrown in for good measure.
It's so subtle. Like, I didn't know any better, I would not know this is a pineapple beer.
I could definitely
It's
taste the
good.
pineapple.
Yeah, I could pick it up.
It kind of reminds me of Hell or High Watermelon from 21st Amendment. That is a little bit more on the watermelon flavor, which is a strange type of fruit to have in there as well. But it's kind of that light, refreshing, little bit sweet, little bit crisp. It's not like it's very light though on the mouthfeel. It's very drinkable.
To me, it's a little sweet overall, and I think that's less the pineapple and more the wheat. And the wheat beers in general, they get me. And this is the second one we've had already, and maybe that's the thing. But I think if this was like a, just a standard ale, pale ale brewed with pineapple juice, I would enjoy it more. But that's just me. I get what they're doing here. It's tasty, but it's not. I couldn't drink very many of these.
I think it's less wheat ale than the first one, Sam Adams Summer.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's the second one.
And like the Sam Adams that came in at 5.3% alcohol, this is 5.5%, and it doesn't taste alcoholic. You wouldn't probably know it.
Yeah, that's just still low. All of these are really low, anyways. You're not going to taste the alcohol.
Yeah, but 5.5 is more than
5.3.
it is, but
More than a domestic.
But it even tastes lighter than Coors Light at 4.5.
Yeah.
But I guess a different style of beer. Obviously, when you have sweeter beer, you can pack a little more alcohol in there without anybody knowing it. Go ahead, Jeff.
It's a little creamy on the mouthfeel. It's bready. When I think of a summer beer, I think of really crisp, refreshing. And it might be different if I was sitting outside, but this isn't the most crisp or refreshing beer. It's just a little creamy and sweet. And maybe it's the pineapple juice. I don't know. But it's a solid beer, but it's very creamy to me.
I can see that.
I think I could drink these all day long. If I was in the pool on a 100-degree day, no problem.
And it's in a can, conveniently.
You know what I was thinking?
I bet I could shotgun these pretty well, too.
When you guys popped them open, I was thinking, there's nothing like the sound of opening a can of beer. I don't know what it is about a can of beer I like.
And we don't have a lot of canned beers on this show. I think it's going to change over time, but this is a rare occasion.
Yeah, I guess the can is a more convenient way to, for camping or for going swimming. You don't want to drop a glass bottle on your patio. You don't want to. You can't take glass bottles in the river as well. camping, you smash the can down, very easy to clean up. So there's definitely a time and place for cans. And I mean, we went golfing today, and the Sierra Nevada pale ales that we drink were in a can.
Yeah. And, you know, I think part of the reason you didn't see cans before, part of it was that the social convention of craft beer drinkers was, oh, it's got to be in a bottle. But another part was that cans, the companies that make cans only sell them in amounts that far exceed the production of some of these companies. So they weren't able to buy them. If they wanted to buy cans, they had to buy 100 times more than they could ever sell.
Right.
So that was a big problem for them.
So the big ones do it. Also, cans get a bad rap because back in the day, the aluminum actually affected the flavor of the beer. Now the cans are all lined with some type of
chemical,
right? Wax or something.
Love
I
that.
don't know.
Love that chemical lining.
But it doesn't affect the flavor of the beer, and it travels without light getting into it. And so
that's the big thing.
The light can definitely affect the taste of beer. So that's kind of a nice thing about it.
Yet Heineken in a can is still skunky. Explain that.
They're masters at their craft.
I can't explain that. Okay, so the summer beer review. I was searching for the best summer beers, and the people that came out with the definitive list was some website that they have devoted themselves to summer beers, the summerbeerreview.com, and they reviewed it was over 100 different ones, and I printed out the list. You can see the types of beers that they reviewed: Abita Lemon Wheat, 21st Amendment Hell or High Watermelon, Alaskan Summer, Allagash White, Anchor Summer, which I saw today, Anderson Valley Summer Solstice, which we will have coming up in a couple of minutes,
momentarily,
Bud Light Lime, Ballast Point, Wahoo Wheat, Boston Samuel Adams Summer Ale.
So I see one on this list, and it just doesn't fit the bill, but it's definitely my favorite, and that's the Lagunitas Little Something Something.
Really?
I was surprised that was on here.
I was surprised it's on here, but I see why it is. And
I think that's their summer
it's their
seasonal.
summer seasonal,
Yeah.
but it's like, I don't know, 8%.
You don't think of it as the refreshing
Yeah.
summer beer?
It is a refreshing beer. It's a heavy hitter too at the same time.
Yeah, so of the top 10 beers that they had these lists of 190 or something. I can't remember the number, but they gave us their top 10 in no particular order. And the only one I've had is Lagunitas a Little Something Something Ale. But they have 6 Point Apollo, Boulevard Zon, Buffalo Bills Orange Blossom Cream Ale, Sarnac Summer Ale, Omegang Fleur de Houblon, Dogfish Head, Festina Peche, Southern Tier Hop Sun, RJ Rocker's Son of a Peach, and Red Hook Wise Cracker Wit. So, if you ever see those out there, according to these guys, they are the top summer beers for 2015.
I'll pass. Wait for winter.
Honorable mentions, they mentioned Samuel Adams Summer Ale, which we just had. Big Sky Summer Honey, haven't had that. Steigel Lemon Radler. Now that is a 2% alcohol beer. It's grapefruit and beer, and they mix it together, and very easy to drink. But man, if you're looking to have any sort of beer effects on you, that's not the one to go with. And then Alaskan Summer Beer, I've had that before, and that's pretty good. So anyway, you can check that out at the summerbeerreview.com, and we'll put a link to that up in the Beer of the Day news section. Next beer of the day, Leinenkugel. Is that how it's pronounced?
Yep.
Leinenkugel Summer Shandy. Now, this beer, I've never even heard of it. I've heard of it before. I've seen it a lot of places. I've never had it before, but it's incredibly popular for being I would almost think that this beer is produced by some big beer manufacturer, but I don't know that.
Well, do you want to know?
I should have researched it.
I'd say every year.
I'll tell you what, it feels like Coors to me.
And for the record, you do not need a bottle opener to open this.
Do you know it, Andy?
I know. It's Saab Miller.
Oh, it's Miller.
Yeah.
Ah.
Makes sense. Wisconsin.
They're from that part of the world.
Oh, Wisconsin.
But they've owned them since 1988. And I think they operate pretty much on their own. You've seen the commercials with the Jacob Leinenkugel. You've never seen these commercials?
Yeah, every year
I
in like
have.
April, the commercials start going full force.
I'm
for
Jacob
getting ready for
Leinenkugel, and this is my summer shandy. You should enjoy it and whatever.
I don't watch
Go
commercials.
swimming.
I don't watch
They don't
TV.
have commercials on HBO.
I don't watch TV that has commercials.
This is the
Except
first.
sports.
I think this is the first beer on this podcast in the history of Beer of the Day podcast that had a screw top.
I think you're right. I was thinking the same thing.
Smells
And I don't know why, but
delicious.
my first instinct was to try to screw it off with my hand instead of the bottle opener. It came naturally.
You could tell.
Well, it's pretty
Aromatic.
Can you call a beer lemon colored?
It's
Yep.
Lemon juice.
It's lemon
aroma.
colored.
Jeez, it's like
I mean,
Cannot see through it.
It tastes like, it smells like the dish soap.
yeah.
No, it smells like lemonade to me. I don't. I smell lemonade.
It smells like
Lemonade.
Minute Maid lemonade. It looks like Minute Maid lemonade. Maybe that's what they do. They just put it in a bottle,
Don't you
throw
get some
some
of
yeast
that,
in there, and get
that
some.
dish soap?
A little bit.
I can see it.
You might even say it tastes a little bit like dish soap.
That lemon zest?
Wow.
I mean, it's not bad. It's
It
actually
has
kind of
some-
good.
I think
but
it has some
tastes like
soapy
lemonade.
characteristics.
Lemonade with a soapy finish.
It's a Weiss beer brewed with honey with natural lemonade flavor added.
And Dove.
Their natural lemonade flavor comes from Pine Sol lemon's flavor.
But this is what I think of when I think of a classic summer beer that a lot of Americans would be happy to drink out in a park or on the lake or whatever. This is what comes to mind.
Oh,
This type of taste.
Floating down the river, I could have a 12 pack of these. No problem.
Absolutely.
We mentioned that Steigl Radler,
Yeah.
and it reminds me quite a bit of that. I mean, maybe not as smooth, and it's kind of a
Have you had that beer?
yeah, quite a bit. I was at I worked at a Oktoberfest
Oh, that was it there.
for a whole weekend and poured beer for people and kind of asked them. They kind of told me what kind of beers they liked, and then I'd find the beer that worked for them. And I sold a lot of that Radler because there's some people that go to these events but they're not really into beer, and so I can get them on this grapefruit juice, and they're like, "Oh, that's great!" And they kept coming back for it more and more, and it was 3% or something, and so
It's all like all the chicks drinking Blue Moon.
they could drink it all day.
I like Blue Moon.
I said, you heard what I said.
And also, that Sacktoberfest, they went bankrupt.
Yep. Did you ever get paid?
Didn't get
Those-
paid a dime.
Probably shouldn't
I
have.
worked 3 days for free.
You didn't even get your tip money?
No tip money. No money. But I did drink a lot of the beer.
That's not the worst deal.
So I got my money's worth on that.
Jeez.
Anyway,
Back to the beer. Summer Shandy. Yeah, this is probably the last one of these I'll ever have.
I bought a 6-pack.
Well, let me know when it's done, and then I'll come visit.
No, I think this is drinkable. I mean, there's nothing bad about it. It's just you're not gonna. It doesn't wow you. You don't think, man, if I want to go get a beer, I want to have a summer
If I'm
shandy.
going to go grab a beer, unless this is the last one there, I'm not grabbing this.
what about for the that bottle bong apparatus thing?
Oh, it'll go down easy.
Yeah, real easy.
But this beer's been made since 1867. I mean, that's saying something. If that's right. I assume it's right. It's printed on there. It must be true.
This
Must be true.
It's printed with black ink on white label.
brewed with pride by the Leinenkugel family since 1867.
Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, I believe.
Yes. That's right.
I just think in comparison to like if I'm at a barbecue, if it's this or Bud Light Lime, I might go for this at least half the time.
I would go for this every time. But
yeah, me too.
I wouldn't even go to a barbecue where that was my option.
If you knew what the beer
If that's
menu
my
was,
option, I'm
you
not
wouldn't
going to be
show up.
there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as much as I like the summer shandy, let's move to the Anderson Valley Summer Solstice.
Ball horning.
Now, this one, we have been doing a lot of California-centric shows lately. We did our pre-San Diego show. We did our first post-San Diego show. And now we're decided to take a break from the so California-centric and do a variety of summer ales from around the country. So this is the representation from California, Anderson Valley Summer Solstice.
And I picked this one because the winter solstice is just so good.
Winter Solstice is great.
It's a great beer.
One of my favorite winter beers.
And so I was like, well, and I've heard that this one's not as good, and I've had it, but it's been a long time, and I was like, we got to do it on the show. It doesn't matter.
So I had this on Wednesday at the bar, and we were at that time having a discussion on text message, figuring out what beers we were going to get. And we go to the store and we I send some beers to Jeff, he sends some to me, and we kind of come up with a list of things. And so I wasn't going to try the beer at the bar because I didn't want to ruin it because we're going to have it on the show. But the bartender said, I was drinking the Track 7 IPA. She's like, we want to switch it up and do a summer solstice? And I was like, okay. So I did it.
And she's really cute, so it was easy to talk about.
She could have said, do you want to eat shit? Okay.
I don't like to say no to Sarah. So I got it, and I'm going to withhold my opinion till after.
I just had a sip,
We've
and
tried it.
I don't even know how to describe this beer. It's not good.
I think it's really easy to describe. You can describe it in one word.
Don't say what I said the other day. I want to see
this
if
is
they
out of all of
independently
these
come
beers,
to
this is
same
the darkest
conclusion.
one. If I lined them all up without tasting them, I would gravitate towards this one because it's the darkest. I think it's probably the maltiest. It's this looks like a beer I would like, but I had a few sips and I just don't like it.
You know what?
The summer shandy is influencing the taste in the cup, I think.
Either that or the beer I had at the bar was bad, had gone bad. Because at the first two sips
Really?
is completely different than the beer I had the other day.
I agree. 100%.
I agree with both of you. The summer shandy is influencing it. This beer, I heard Dallas gave me his description from the other night already, and I've had it before, and I kind of remember the same things. But this beer has a complexity of flavor that we haven't even come close to in these other beers.
This beer is 10 times better than the beer I
Wow.
had Wednesday at the bar. It is the beer I had at the bar. I can describe it now because this is not the beer.
Nope.
It was flat and it tasted like graham crackers. It had this graham cracker taste from now, and it just lingered on. And I thought the only way that I could even enjoy it was to mix in some marshmallow and some chocolate.
Yeah, no, this tastes completely different from what we had on draft.
I'm not even getting graham cracker on this.
I'm getting a little bit. It's the ginger that I get that ginger flavor, and there's a
Yeah,
spicy.
there's some spice.
right?
This is a little more sour.
Yeah.
Isn't there sourness on the tongue?
I think that's from the previous beer.
Yeah, that's what I
Is
think
yours-
too.
Well, he had the same beer too.
There is some spice. I don't really like this beer. I mean, maybe I have the same beer that you guys had earlier. I don't really like this, but it's got a spice. I'll agree with that.
It's got a. I'm gonna call it this. It's a complexity of flavors, good or bad. It's
I get like sweet and sour. It's like it's kind of this mix of different flavors.
It's the mix of flavors that I would like to visit. It's not one that I would drink every day. Like we talk about a lot of these other ones where you could drink the 6-pack or whatever. This isn't that beer. This is more of a a complex beer that it's nice to have one bottle every once in a while, and you really enjoy that one glass. But it's not a sipper, not an everyday drinker.
I'm so glad that this beer actually is so much better than the one I had, because I'm a fan of Anderson Valley. I've liked every beer I've ever had from them, and I was so disappointed the other night because this beer was just awful. I almost wanted to just order another beer and not drink the rest of it.
Yeah.
And instead I gulped it down, and it was not easy to do, but I finished it so that I could order my next beer. And so this one is a big improvement.
I would say most definitely this has a sour taste because I really made sure to like leave it in my mouth for a while, and I don't want to make sure I wasn't
agree
getting
with you now, after having
summer shandy. This tastes completely different from what we had in that keg, but pleasant surprise.
Yep. Okay, so this is an interesting dynamic here, because this is a style of beer that we don't drink that often. I mean, we're more IPA guys. We can do the stouts, we do the porters. It's a little bit more of those darker, heavier beers.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while we have to pull it back and do lagers and do wheat beers. And it's good to, I think we do a lot of heavy lifting, exercising our palate on the other end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to travel back to the other lighter left side of the spectrum and get a little practice on that side. So as far as picking our favorite beer of the day, it's going to be a interesting selection. So Andy, why don't you take us through the beers that we've had and recap them?
Okay, so we started off with the Sam Adams Summer Ale, and we moved on to the
Goose Summer Ale.
What was it called? Goose Summer Ale. And then we had our Strange Brew, the Mana Wheat from Maui Brewing Company, and we moved on to the Lightning Kugel's Summer Shandy, and finished it off with the Anderson Valley Summer Solstice.
All right. Let's start with Steve today.
I'm up in the air. I think I'm going to go with the Mana Wheat. I liked it a lot. I liked the very subtle pineapple taste, a little bit sweet, but I do enjoy wheat beers. You get the wheat, the kind of the breadiness of it, and then you get that pineapple taste. It's good. I liked it a lot.
Okay, we don't get to choose the Goose Summer Ale because I bought the wrong beer. So we have 4 to choose from, and I am going to go with Summer Solstice, Anderson Valley Brewing Company. This one, it's a little heavier than these other summer ales, and so because of that reason, I thought it was a little bit more interesting. Like some of these ones, we talked about it in 5 minutes because there's not a whole lot to say. There's not too much going on, and I think Summer Solstice has quite a bit going on. Different contrasting flavors and characteristics that makes it definitely an interesting beer to try. And I was very happy that it was much better than the beer I had at the bar the other night. So Summer Solstice is my beer of the day.
All right. So
Jeff?
first, I just want to say that I'm happy that we have 5 beers from 5 different states. It's not often that we can do that. I think it's fitting to try summer beers where we have one from Illinois, Hawaii, Massachusetts, Wisconsin, and California. So I think we got a good variety, a good sampling from all over the U.S. That being said, this was actually a really easy choice for me. Most of these shows, I have a hard time picking between 1 or 2 different beers. I didn't even have to think about this. For me, I know you guys don't have it, but it's the Goose Summer Ale. To me, it had the most flavor. It's probably the most like pale ales or IPAs, and that's probably why I like it. But hands down for me, Goose Island was my beer of the day.
I wish we'd had it.
So for me, these shows, it's we're trying usually 5 beers that are we just have one bottle of. It's not something we get all the time, and there's special beers usually. Today it's more of your everyday run of the mill beer.
Mainstream.
I wouldn't call it mainstream because these aren't mainstream beers by any means.
True.
But they are, your lighter alcohol, the things that people buy in a mass quantity. And all of these beers, except for one, on any other show, we would have forgotten about them by the time we got to the next beer. I think the Summer Solstice from Anderson Valley would stand up on another show. I don't know if it'd be the best beer, but it at least offers you something to think about. The other ones are kind of like straightforward, and I don't want to call them boring, but that's what they are. They're boring. The Summer Solstice had such a complex flavor. It wasn't, I don't know if I'd call it summery, but they call it summery, so I'm going to go ahead and say it is. And that was by far my favorite beer tonight.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, we had a pretty varied selection. I'm glad we got to try these. All right. We're going to get out of here tonight, but we thank you for tuning in to the show and invite you to check out our website, beeroftheday.com. If you're on Facebook, you should like us. Facebook.com/thebeeroftheday. And we post the beer of the day on Facebook every day, and then you can share that with your friends. And if it's a beer that you happen to like, then you can introduce the site to other people. If you listen to us on iTunes, please subscribe to our podcast. If you like the show, rate us, leave feedback. That helps us move up in the rankings on iTunes, and then other people can find out about the Beer of the Day podcast as well. For everybody here at Beer of the Day, we will see you next time here on the Beer of the Day podcast.